So the first thing is I have, instead of bulletin journal, I have a database in Notion that create an item every time where I describe what is the single goal, or maximum 2 goals that I will tackle that day. Could be that I need to focus on, I don't know, a specific customer that I need to really make clear that that specific service work in a certain way, or solve an architectural problem, or I need to work on a blog post, or I need to work on a script. Whatever it is, the goal of the day has to be there, and my focus is on that.
I need your help. Today, I desperately need your help, Luca. I called you because I need your help, because I'm deeply unorganized. I have many problems. One in particular is that I'm constantly out of time. So let me picture you my situation. I have many ideas constantly, right? I stream of ideas constantly. I would like to do everything. So because my idea is, this is fantastic. I will do it right now. But then I cannot do it right now because I'm doing something else. So I'm telling myself, I will do this tomorrow or in a couple of days. But then other things come in the pipeline, right? So it's a mess. And then when I have the time to do what I've planned to do, then another great idea comes to my mind. And so I find myself messing up with multiple great ideas. And in the end, I do quite a lot of things, but I'm not satisfied because I think, well, I could have done more if I was more organized. And while talking to you, you said that you are very organized. You organize yourself very well. In fact, you are very productive. In fact, you do a lot of things. And it seems to me that you do everything, and you do everything that you want to do. I don't know if that's true, but it's my perception of you, right? And so I would like to tell me your secrets right now, everything.
No problem. Okay, so let's start from the basics.
Yeah.
First, you should stop your brain to think too much, because otherwise you will go in burnout straight away. So take it easy, first of all. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is, bear in mind that perception matters. So you are not the first person telling me, "Oh, it seems that you are super organized, Luca. You can do everything." I don't know if I can do everything. I'm trying to do the best that I can, but I spent in the last, I would say, 4 years, quite a lot of time trying to understand if I can do better what I'm doing. Okay, so that's the starting point. There are some resources that really help me to nail it, because, or at least my perspective, nail it, because I discovered a few things during the journey, right? So first of all, let's start from the beginning, that unfortunately I discovered only last year, and that is my fault. But our brain is not designed for remembering, and that is big spoiler.
Thank you. So I'm not weird. So that's reality.
No, that's the reality. And in fact, if you think about, considering we more or less we are the same age, but you seem younger. If you remember well, at school they asked us to remember a ton of poems and all
Dates.
books, dates, everything, right? The reality is our brain is designed for connecting. That for me was the turning point of how I organize myself. Because at the beginning I always thought, oh, I don't remember these things. Let's try to create a mental model or some breadcrumbs that enables me to go and find that information. And usually what I did is creating some, let's say, streaks that I don't remember the exact number or the exact date or wherever it is the information, but I know how to find it. Classic examples is, for instance, when I look into AWS quotas for the service, I never remember them. Like, I think I remember 2 or 3 top. But if I search the name of the service, quotas on Google, I can find straight away in the first 3 results what I'm looking for. So I always, let's say, try to create these mental model or tricks for finding things. But then I arrived to a point where I said, "Oh, but what about all my ideas? I cannot search for ideas." And I was more or less like you, where I had tons of ideas, and the problem is, I realized that I wasn't organized well. So what I started to do in the last more or less 18 months was writing down everything. I did that in the past sporadically. It was more like, oh yeah, this one is really good idea, so let me write it down. But it was scattered across multiple things. I have like Moleskine with me. I have sometimes digital, and I was using, I don't know, text edit. Sometimes was in the calendar even. So it was not very well organized, but I was trying to do that. And in fact, the stuff that I was writing down helped a ton. But the real problem is I didn't have a mechanism or a model that I could aspire to. And everything changed when I read the book that was called Second Brain by Tiago Forte. That really changed everything. That basically, the idea is very simple. So he creates like a mechanism that enables you to write down in a sort of, it translates basically the real world in digital world. Like imagine like you have a box. And in this box, you put everything that is related to a specific project. So if you have, let's say, a box and you need to go through a project, through every single element that compose that project, you can take the box and you start to, let's say, understand better what are the things. And you don't have to have a stream of thoughts that is constant. It can be that you start today and tomorrow you have another idea that will sum up on the previous one, and slowly but steadily you build this giant box of ideas related one to each other. But because are in the same box, you start to visualize them. And that is the trick, right? So what I did is basically started to write down and in a digital shape and creating this digital folder, if you want, where I started to have my ideas and put them there. Concrete example, for instance, when I do like content creation, I have like for the videos, I have a sort of Kanban board, if you want, like a Trello board. Consider that I know you are quite passionate about Trello.
No, it's not true. It's not true. It's just the only board that I know.
And basically there I divided in type of videos that I want to cover. Some are just ideas, some are scripting them, some others are more in advanced state. But I start to work on multiple videos ideas simultaneously. Or better, in the same week, I can touch like 3-4 things because slowly but steadily I'm building up the idea. Okay. Similarly, in my to-do list, there is a nice trick that I don't remember if it was on Tiago Forte books, but I read in some book where you create the idea of, instead of the to-do list, someday list. So there are a lot of things that we usually do that are not urgent at all, right? And you want to remember them, but because we are not, let's say, designed for remembering, but for connecting, I started to jot down the different things in categories. Like, for instance, I don't know, I have my newsletter, and if I have an idea on my newsletter while I'm working, I just open Notion. That is the tool I decided to use, and we will go later on why I'm using Notion. And there, basically, I said, okay, so I have the Dear Architects newsletter. So I have an idea, boom, I put there. I have the AWS part. So I have an idea for a new content I want to create for our blog or for a POC that I want to present to a customer. I jotted there. And I just try to stay high level. The beauty of this approach is that you don't have to interrupt what you're doing. It's literally just jumping straight in something that is frictionless or easily accessible. And for me, it was Notion for the main reason that is available in every device I use. And I just write down. And you don't, and in 2 years more or less that I'm using this, you realize that basically because it's in every device, it's frictionless, and you have a mechanism that you can categorize things quickly. You immediately, when you have an idea, start to do that. Very often, you know, I don't know, I go to bed, and while I'm trying to fall asleep, then suddenly I have that, oh, I know how I could solve that thing.
Exactly.
Exactly. So usually I said, okay, tomorrow I will remember, but obviously I never remember that.
No,
But
sometimes
then
it happens.
it's
Sometimes it
rarely
happens.
with me,
But most of the times
rarely.
I forgot. Yeah.
Exactly. So I just open. I have like the phone close to my bed. I just take it and say, okay, remember to do this. And the day after, I know exactly where I should start from. And I know that seems like easy to a certain extent because it's not groundbreaking. I'm not telling you, oh, Edo, you should do something completely different. You have these super complicated things that you need to do. Is honestly helping your brain to create these digital, let's say, boxes that enables you to put your thought in. The beauty of this is also the fact that you can recover at any given point from a specific point that you left a project. Very often, I think it happens also to you that you start a project, maybe you are writing on a POC, and then suddenly you have other 45 things that you need to do because are more urgent. And the problem I always had in the past was, okay, so now I need to move again to the POC, but I don't remember. It was like 30 days ago that I wrote the last line of code. And instead, if I start to write down, when there's a habit that I have nowadays that is like 3 or 4 years that I'm doing, when I'm writing code, obviously I have like short amount of time because then I have maybe a meeting or I need to go out with the kids, whatever it is. I try to create something that is very small that I can accomplish from my perspective with that amount of time, and then before I switch to something else, I write down the next three things that I need to do.
The next
So
three things. Okay.
yes. So if I know that, for instance, I know I wrote like a JavaScript module or a PHP module in your case, and you write that, and you say, okay, so nice. So this capability works pretty well, but I want to refactor this part because it's a bit messy, or I want to extract that module in order to reuse in another place, or I want to create the test for that specific feature. I usually write down the three things that I need to do. So when I go back, I don't have to remember that thing. I just go, okay, so perfect. I need to do this, and that. And then I take one of those tasks and I start to immediately take work on that. And that helps a ton because my flow on coding nowadays is not like when I was developer that I can spend like 8 hours on that. It's more scattered. And therefore I need to, I don't know, do a meeting, then maybe another meeting, then I go back, or maybe it's 3 days later that I go back. But I don't have any more the time of, okay, let me spend the next 30 minutes to think about that. Oh shit, it's finished the time because I need to go to the next meeting. That kind of
So,
things.
okay. So when you do something, you also take notes about what you're missing or what you want to do next.
Correct.
Okay.
Especially with code. And with code works like a charm for me. But in general, when I open my second brain in Notion, I have like stuff that I wrote last year. Let's say every quarter or 6 months, I tend to do a review on certain things that I didn't touch to see if they are still valuable or not. But in general, I try to create a system that works for me more than, let's say, follow, I don't know, bulletin journal or any other, let's say, approach that there are out there. And that usually is the a template or blueprint that I usually start with. Then there are key things that I do for me, and not only for organizing myself better, but also for mental health. That is another aspect that I started to learn more in the last few years.
Okay. But so you are mixing between things that you want to do for yourself and for your personal branding, let's say,
Yeah.
and things that you have to do for your professional, for your job.
Correct.
So
Because
you
for
mix
me,
them together.
there is no line, there is no hard line between the two for a simple reason. If I thought to have two different second brains, but the problem is it's hard to let's say have a visibility on everything. I prefer to have is more or less I thought like an observability, right? So if you are in first year, and I know it's pretty nerdy, but if you are a first year of support, you want to have a high level view on how the system is working. Is it healthy? Is not healthy? And then you drill down into the dashboard that the service doesn't work anymore, and you want to look into that. So I try to do exactly the same. So I have let's say the first page in Notion that collects a lot of databases that enables me then to drill down if I need to. But I have like I don't know, the latest thing that I have written, or the one that are about to expire, because I can set a date also in certain things, and that enables me to have a clear view on how it looks like my life, if you want. And then when I need to drill down, for instance, for the when I have an area dedicated to conferences, and that there basically I list all the conferences that I need to attend as a speaker, and then I also add all the specification that you have for creating the slides, how long is the talk, and stuff like that. So when I block the time on my calendar for creating the slides or preparing the talk, I usually refer to that. I don't have to search through email or whatever. It's just literally, okay, so it's there. I have 30 minutes, so let's look at the deck that I have, or I need to create new deck. How would it look like? And then I start to add everything related to that talk inside the same Notion page. So when I want to go back, I said, okay, I talk about this in that conference. Let me go back and see my notes and how it works. But my effort nowadays is a lot on writing, because it provides a lot of clarity in my brain, because it forces me to think thoroughly. If I try to remember, I skip the process of creating a stream of thought that is rational. I just have an idea. But very often, when I drill down in my ideas, there is a good chance that is pretty junky and doesn't make any sense to pursue. But if instead I write that, I force my brain to connect, and therefore I'm forced to understand. Oh yeah, but I didn't think about this issue or this edge case, and then maybe an idea that it seemed at the beginning extremely fast to realize and easy to build became like a monster that I didn't even thought about.
You know what I really struggle to do is force myself to write down things and follow what I wrote down. Example, I started taking notes. I started taking notes for the podcast, and also for ideas for articles, ideas for in Notion. So I started with Notion pages, taking down notes and everything. But the first time I skipped writing down, or that I found obsolete information, I stopped using it. I fell back to the previous habits. If I found something that's not reliable, then I drop it immediately. And in order for it to be reliable, I need to force myself in maintaining it. So I need to I imagine that you still have to maintain your Notion second brain, because if you if you don't maintain it, it becomes a mess. Right?
Absolutely.
So you force yourself into this, but you have a fixed time when you go to Notion and organize, or deprecate things, or you fixed this time in your schedule, or it's when you have 5 minutes?
No. So in order to create a habit, usually you need to do that every day for at least 100 days. That's scientific. It's not coming from me, but this is how it works.
Okay.
If you think about, for instance, cleaning your teeth or brushing your teeth, you do every day, multiple times per day, is because you create a habit. You start at the beginning when you, let's say you were born, you don't do that. So slowly but steadily, you create a habit because you do every single day. It became a mechanic. You don't even think. You know that you go in the bathroom and you do that. And it's more or less the same thing that you need to do when you are, let's say, creating a second brain or creating something that helps you to be more organized. So what I did at the beginning, 2 years back, was creating an alarm that was around 8:30 every day with maximum priority. And I basically blocked at the beginning 1 hour of my time. And that during that 1 hour of the time at 9:30, obviously if I was traveling or if I was on the train, it was slightly more complicated. I tried to do during the day. But I forced myself to not skip the first 100 days, because the first 100 days are the most important one. As you said, and I was the same. If I start now and in a new habit, and I know that there's an habit that could help me, but I skip a couple of days, then I can get off very quickly. But if you do that for 100 days, it becomes, I cannot say consolidated in your brain, but it becomes an automatic thing, more or less. So you know that the first thing you do is that. And usually my mornings were structured in this way. So the first thing is, I have, instead of bulletin journal, I have a database in Notion that create an item every time, where I describe what is the single goal, or maximum 2 goals, that I will tackle that day. Could be that I need to focus on, I don't know, a specific customer that I need to really make clear that that specific service work in a certain way, or solve an architectural problem, or I need to work on a blog post, or I need to work on a script. Whatever it is, the goal of the day has to be there, and my focus is on that, nothing else.
When are you writing the goal of the day?
At 8:30 in the morning.
So it's a day by day goal that you decide.
Absolutely.
And how do you know what's the goal of the? How do you know what's the best goal of the day?
It's not the best. So looking at my calendar and looking at the engagement that I have, and knowing the task that I have to do, I usually look into what, in my opinion, is the most valuable thing that I can do that day. If you start to look into this part, it means that you need to prioritize ruthlessly what you're doing. So the fact that at the beginning you were saying, I have a bazillion of ideas, I would say everyone has a bazillion of ideas. But the problem is not having ideas. It's great having ideas, but the problem is focusing on ideas. The focus part is the part that not many do. If I think about, for instance, in the stats around YouTube, there are 1% of the people that are content creator, on the billions of users that the YouTube has. It means that 99% are just consuming, because it's the main difference between doers and people that instead are just watching videos.
Sure.
And for me, it's important that wherever is the thing that you're doing, that could take 30 minutes during the day, like 3 hours, it doesn't matter. It's something that is doable, sizable, so it doesn't take more than one day. And then sometimes, it happens that you are, let's say, distracted, or you move to something else, and therefore you need to, let's say, try again the second day. But it has to be done during that day. And that is the main thing. Then vast majority of the time, I can tell you, I always have like the filler task, as I call them. It's basically a bunch of other things, like, I don't know, I need to prepare the expenses of my last trip, or I need to reply to that specific email. That are a bunch of things that I just write down that are, to a certain extent, in the big scheme of things, meaningless, but are admin that you need to do. And therefore, those are my filler tasks during the day. So, for instance, if I have I do my goal of the day selected at the beginning of the day, then I start to work on that as soon as possible and trying to smash as soon as possible. Then maybe I have some meetings, but maybe one meeting is canceled, or maybe one meeting is ended in 30 minutes instead of 1 hour. So that remaining time, the filler tasks are my best friends, because I can pick one that I know are tiny things, and I fill basically my time with the filler task. And slowly but steadily, you will see that because you are winning every day, because your task, your goal of the day will be done by the end of the day, because some of the filler tasks will be done at the end of the same day. At the end of the day, I do a retrospective. So how did it go? What are the lowlights? What are the highlights? And because it's just me, myself, and I that have access to this page, I'm brutally honest. And that is one of the key parts that works a lot, because very often, we don't cheer up. And this is also on the mental health side. We don't cheer up for small wins, but the small wins that allows us to reach the big wins.
So you also write down the retrospective?
Yes, I write down basically 1 or 2 sentences of what I've done well and what I wasn't that good at. For instance, if I didn't finish a task at the main goal, so next time, either you split it in 2, so in something that is smaller that move towards the goal that I need to achieve, or I need to protect better my time in order to focus on what I need to do.
And do you have tricks to force yourself into doing something? Because sometimes I found myself tricking my brain in order to force myself doing something, because otherwise I would just playing games or making bread with Nutella, right? So
Nice.
I need to find, I don't know, I need to find tricks. And I don't know, do you have some?
I got 3.
Okay.
So the first one is the rule of 5 minutes. So if I have a task that I don't want to do, I do that for 5 minutes. And then there is a hard stop. I literally add a timer on my phone. And after 5 minutes, wherever state I am, I stop. 5 minutes is enough for entering I cannot say in a deep focus mode, but in the flow that you wire your head towards what you need to achieve. And then when you stop, I feel that I'm not completely like, oh, I was in a very good mood at the time, because the problem is procrastination is not that the task is impossible to achieve. It's the fact that you don't want to start, but because you know that it's 5 minutes only, you force yourself to start. So
that's
you
a
trick
good
your
one.
brain to do that.
Yeah.
The other one, the second one is, for instance, one thing that annoys me when I do like a POC for a customer or for myself is the blueprint or the beginning of the project. Like open the IDE, create the node, the package JSON file, download whatever. Probably in PHP is the same.
Filling the composer JSON.
Exactly. Or starting, for instance, on the infrastructure as code part, and maybe I know that it will take time, but I have some stuff that they can do very quickly, like I don't know, create a VPC or whatever it is. What I do is the evening before that specific thing, I just open the IDE in a new screen on macOS, and I create the first things, like the bare minimum, like 30 minutes stop. Or even if it's a document that I need to write, I create the title. I open whatever tool I use for writing, because I use several of them, and then maybe I create the first paragraph or the title, the subtitle of the thing that I'm writing, the document I'm writing. That basically trick your brain that day after you don't have to start from scratch. You already have something there. You just need to continue. And it's a completely different approach for your procrastination issue that I had for so many years, because you start to think, oh yes, well, I don't have to do anything. I just like literally go there and start to write what I need. It's like more or less don't thinking about the boring part and focusing on what really matters. And that is the second trick that usually I use for helping myself. And let me think about the third one. Because now I was super, at the beginning, so done. So 5 minutes rule. Second brain, and the third one will come. Sorry.
It will come later.
Yes. I'm not writing down. That's the problem.
Yeah, you needed to write down also the script for this video. You know.
No, it's mainly because really it's my brain works like that right now. I just need to visualize things.
That's the opposite of what I do, because I don't. As I said, I tried to write down things, but then I stopped because I don't know, like I love when things are ordered. When I see disorder, then I just close things. And when Notion starts becoming disordered because things are deprecated or things are not that important anymore because I needed to add something else I forgot, then I don't want to see it anymore. So for example, the pages that I use the most in Notion are pages that are fixed. For example, in Notion, I have all the data about my car, like I don't know, fundamental basic data that I need to constantly check, the schedule of the next future appointments. Since this is fixed, I don't need to change it that often. When I need to change it, it's just one line, just adding one line or cancel one line. So I can take it, I can maintain it, okay, easily. And that I love that page because it's so well organized. Instead, when I open the page regarding video ideas, I still see things that I wrote months ago that I don't even remember. And it's a mess, so I immediately close it. I don't want to see it anymore.
But because you need just to create. So yeah, I'm with you on this one. So when I have a lot of ideas that I wrote last year or whatever. When I saw them and my eyes fall on that specific item, I have a parking column where I put everything in parking. And then time to time, if I want, I will revisit them. But I have like the parking column, so I don't mess up the part that they're really interested on what I need to keep up to date.
Okay.
So you need to help your let's say clean obsession or clear obsession to pursue, but without stopping your mechanism for being organized. And that to me helped a lot because, for instance, as I was mentioning before, I divide everything in multiple databases. Every day has its own page, and the page is a template that I created and I changed over the month, obviously using, because there were certain things at the beginning I thought I would use, and others that maybe I didn't think, and instead I wanted to use. So therefore, I basically every day I have an automation in Notion that I don't even have to create a page. It's already there in the morning when I wake up,
Ah,
click the button, start to write. The
okay.
template is already pre-filled. So I just need literally to add bullet point to say this is the goal, or these are the key takeaways. And I usually also prepare mentally for the week every Monday morning and Friday evening for understanding what are the key things that I will have to tackle the week after. Maybe it's a trip.
Oh, so okay. So other ceremonies.
Yes.
Okay, I need to focus on that. Uh, just a question on the chat, Tyler. The app is Notion.
Notion, yeah.
Notion is the app, not Obsidian, but
No.
Notion. But
I'm a visual person. There is a reason why. So Obsidian is fantastic. It's Markdown and amazing. And for us that are, let's say, developers and techies, probably makes more sense. But I'm a visual person. So as you said, you want cleanness. I love beauty. And therefore, every single page that I have every day has a different image at the top that I search on Notion. I maybe select because I maybe take the picture of something that I like and I want to use that. And everything has an icon, so I can see something that is nice to see. It's not just text with a black or white background, doesn't matter. I'm an extremely visual person, and when I see something that is pleasant, I like to be in the pleasant space.
so you have also like progress indicators or green icons for good things, red
Yes,
icons. Okay,
correct. And
that helps your brain.
for me, yes, because I know that I'm aesthetic, and I like the let's say the great things. I see, for instance, in my studio, I tend to have, like, say, things that I like, and I'm more keen to stay in the studio because every time is oh, it's very nice this thing, or it's very nice that thing, so therefore I want to stay here. And when I change my mood or change my mind or taste, I tend to eliminate that thing.
Paul is writing something that I don't understand. You must Edo is referring to me. You must organize your life as micro front-end widgets. It's a pun for you, probably.
Yeah, could be.
Do you use the micro front-end pattern to organize your life also?
No,
I don't think so.
there is one principle that I use,
Uh-huh.
and now don't kill me about that. But I use this principle that anything that is good enough I don't have to create, I won't create. There are things that deserves my time on building. For instance, could I create a Notion with my front ends that will make me happy? Yes, but the waste of time of building and maintaining that code, it will be pretty much pointless. While I can use tools that are available nowadays that are maintained and are better than what I can do, investing time, and I can generate real value. Because the real value at the end of the day, and very often we forget about that, is not the tool, is the content that is the tool enables you to create. The tool is just an enabler. But even for my newsletters, I have like MailerLite, that is a subscription that I pay every month, and I love it because it's good. Can I do better? Probably. Would my time make sense to be invested in that? No, at all, because I don't have any value on creating something like that. I add value in I don't know, sourcing new content for the community or writing down the content over there. That is where the value lies. I became in probably because I'm becoming old, but I became extremely ruthless on understanding where every minute of my life should be spent. and everything that can be done in a decent way that satisfies me, I won't do that. Therefore, Notion for me is good enough for what it is. Sometimes, it's not the most easy things to use, but I discovered a few tricks that I didn't know. And I will never create something that is suboptimal I need to maintain while for me the main thing is visualizing what I'm thinking.
Marco says that he has troubles developing the primary brain, let alone the second brain. But here, the trick is that the second brain is not, at least it's what I understand, the second brain is not something that you build from scratch and another brain that you have to maintain, but it's meant to be a helper for your brain. So
correct.
The amount of work that your primary brain would need to do is less because part of their work is taken care by the second brain. If you are good enough at creating habits for that second brain, so that should be the goal. So
Absolutely.
what I'm taking home from this conversation is that I will try, and I promise, I will try to create habits for every day. I don't know if I can already start with the goal of the day because probably it's hardcore for me. But you know why? Because if I start losing that race, because I start, if I write down a goal and I fail 1 day, 2 days, then I feel like I'm losing at the game. So
No,
it's not.
that's the thing. That's the thing, Edo.
It's not a
So
good feeling, you know.
it's not. It's the problem is that this is cultural. The
Mm,
problem is failure is just part of the success. You cannot
mm,
succeed without failing. That's a given. And therefore, starting with that point, the
mm,
only signal that you need to have when you're failing is learning why you fail. It's not that you fail because the system is basically not working for you. It's you're failing because you're not thinking what you screwed up when you were setting up the goal. So in the case that the goal you are not capable to failing, maybe the issue is you didn't block time for fulfilling that goal. Or maybe the issue is the goal was too big. The
mm,
problem is not failing, is never failing. Failing is part of the journey and probably is the most important part because are the learnings. So if you fail and you forget about that, that is a real failure. But if you fail and you analyze why you were failing and you are learning from that, that is the most important thing that every human being should do because that will enable you to grow as a person. And growth is the reason why we're here.
But don't you fear that feeling of not being successful? Because when you visualize your failures, is it not bad for you when you see that you
It,
failed at something?
it's fine. I failed in so many things and so many dimensions in my career that people now sees like the glare around the title or whatever it is. But I left school when I was 16, so that is a massive failure. 16, you don't have the capabilities to understand what and recognize what was happening around you, and everyone pointed my fingers to me, saying that I will never combine anything in my life or whatever. But the problem is not the failure, and that's why I think it's extremely important for me highlighting that there are
Mm,
people that are always thinking, and that is basically a reflection to how we think that the failure is a bad thing. We need to stop thinking about that because failure is part of the journey. Doesn't mean that if person fail once, twice, bazillion of times, he will not succeed in the long term. The only thing it means that it has the possibility to try new things, and trying things is not bad. And if there could be two outcomes, you learn or you succeed. And either ways you win. But if we remove the terms failing from our vocabulary in this situation, it means that you just learn something. Probably you screw up something else. And that happens in something as simple as organizing your life or something more complicated like writing a system or designing a system. Failure, vast majority of the time, as architect, I've seen that people are complaining because Scrum doesn't work because they are trying to judge ourselves based on the amount of tasks that they are doing. No, Scrum is just helping you to visualize the bottlenecks. If you start to shift your mindset into not that people wants to point their fingers to you, but instead you start to think, okay, so let's try to understand what we have learned in this sprint, in this day, in this whatever.
But
That is the mindset that you should have.
I'm not afraid of people pointing fingers. I'm afraid of myself. Like, I'm afraid of visualizing too much that the things that I'm missing, that I missed. Like, I know that I could have done more. I know it, but if I don't see it, then I feel better with myself.
But the thing is, that you don't feel better because if you the day
Yeah,
after
I lie to myself.
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah. So the reality is, if you start small and then you iteratively constantly win, your brain became a junkie on winning, and therefore you will be better on designing the right goal for you. One
Okay.
goal, two goals. And you will see that after 30 days, 60 days, and so on, when you start doing, oh, that did and that's why that's important at the end of the day, writing down what the highlight and low light, because you recognize that despite was a task that was, I don't know, writing 10 slides for that presentation, you succeeded. You acknowledge that you succeed. And you also, in the low light case, you say, oh, today I had a really bad conversation with this colleague. I could have done better, or I could have done this, or it really pissed me off. And next time, probably I need to rethink. But when you go back or reread or rethink about that, because it's visualized, you will see that you will give a different weight to that discussion, to that mood, to whatever. And even for my mood, every morning, on top of that, I do the morning pages. That is a technique created by, I read in the book, The Artist Way. Basically, it's a stream of consciousness. You just write down what you feel, whatever it is. It doesn't matter if it's grammatically correct. It doesn't matter if it's have like a nice shape or form. It's just literally taking what you're thinking and your mood and expressing there. And for instance, last year I had like a really bad 6 month where work didn't work as I wanted, but you couldn't do anything because in certain companies, it's so big that it's very difficult to make a change, an impact very quickly. And therefore I was writing down all these emotion, these things. And then I realized that many of the things that I was focusing on when I analyzed all a few of those pages were things that I couldn't control. And therefore there was no point for me to be pissed off or to be angry or to
That's
think that they could make it
stoicism.
happen. But that's the reality, because we don't
Yeah,
visualize.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Because we don't visualize is the problem.
But when you write down these feelings, so you mean you're brutally honest?
Absolutely. It's only me that is going to read that. Why should I lie? Why should I lie to myself?
Yeah, I'm being honest with you. That scares me a lot. I don't know
But
why,
it
but that
helps.
scares me.
Why are you scared?
I don't know. Because I think sometimes, if not most of the times, I just lie to myself because I feel better. I don't know, did you speak with a psychologist on that, or did you just read books?
I just read books.
I think probably reading books is not enough. Probably I need to figure out that mechanism that unblocks me, that unblocks my brain. Because being honest in writing down how I feel or what I did good or bad in the day is so brutally honest, like you said, that it scares me. That if I know that probably I could have done something better during the day, but I trick me into thinking, well, I could do this tomorrow, or, well, it was raining. I couldn't, I cannot go to the gym because it's raining, it's... if I write this down, I know in that precise moment I hurt myself.
But you're not hurting. You're just visualizing that you weren't able to achieve the specific things that you had in mind, and that you can have countermeasures. It's not that you are a failure. It's like you wanted to do something and it was raining, and therefore that was the excuse. Then if it happens also the day after and the day after, you start to say, oh, probably here I need to change direction. I need to find something else. Maybe finding a gym buddy that we go together, we schedule things together, we commit together on something, and it helps. So it's helping you basically to visualize that there is a problem. It's not that you are failing. It's again, it's the whole point of not thinking failure like a negative thing, is thinking failure like a moment of learning.
Hmm.
And if you start to say, okay, so I see a pattern here, so I cannot go to the gym for any stupid reason. So probably it's because it's just me. What if I ping someone, or I ask even to the gym and say, listen, can you pair me with someone that is at the beginning and he maybe struggle to commit for having to create a habit? So at least we can engage with each other every, I don't know, twice per week, 3 times per week, and start to go. That the mindset should always be not being afraid to fail because you are trying. That's the first step. That probably is the most difficult step, more than failing. Failing is just a result, like succeeding. It doesn't mean that succeeding you are perfect, that you can stop to do what you want. I mean, it's 23 years that I'm studying every single night because I didn't have a university, I didn't have the time to study, I don't have a formal education, and therefore I feel that I'm always behind everyone else. And for me, it's like studying every single day. That's my one of the things is I want to learn one thing every day. It could be like how I had it using DaVinci Resolve specific things, like doing a 3D motion or whatever it is.
Hmm.
Could be something stupid like that, but I write it down. And
And
the
so,
fact that
and okay, so I'm interested in the learning path. So you want to learn something new every day. Let's see,
one
uh,
thing every day,
a new thing every day.
just one thing every day. It could be
One
as
thing.
small as possible, as big as possible.
You plan that in advance, or it's just a day by day
It's just
decision?
day by day. I don't have anything planned. It's something that if I feel that I arrived to, I don't know, 3 p.m. and I didn't learn anything,
Uh huh.
it might be a problem. I need to read something, maybe an article or whatever it is, and that usually helps me a ton on, let's say, I realize that 365 small things are a ton of things at the end of the year.
Sure.
And for me, that's the mindset, right? So if you start to think about how we learn, we often commit to these, let's say, massive things like, oh, next week I start to study Rust, or next week I'm going to the next year I'm going
It's a
to
big
do
task.
this.
It's a
It's
big task.
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. But the problem is you are intimidated when you arrive there, or you start
Sure.
a week, but because you didn't create any mechanism that saves you when time comes, you will never learn anything. When I started, for instance, with videography 2 years back, I never had the camera in my hands. I didn't know anything about videos. I didn't know anything about lenses or whatever, lights or whatever. I just, let's say, took a goal that for a month, I bought like a training, but for a month, every night, I spent 1 hour watching videos. The videos that basically was training me about that. And then at the end of a module, I forced myself to put in practice what I was learning. At the beginning, it was just with the iPhone, and then slowly but steadily, I said, okay, so probably I can do something better. Maybe if I have this camera. Then I tried bazillion lenses. I sent them back, almost all of them, or resold them. And slowly but steadily, I created my way to learn and find the right things. And now I'm not too, let's say, crazily happy, but I'm in a position that many people feels that I'm doing a good job, despite I know that they have a lot of room of improvements. But the thing is, at the end of the day, everyone has. It's part of life. So the room of improvements everyone has in every single aspect of our life. We are never arrived.
But do you also have free time? Because I'm not seeing any free time here.
It's I consider that a state of mind.
Hmm.
What is free time? Is something that you enjoy, right?
Yeah.
I love my job. I love working in tech. I tried when I was working in a factory, it wasn't very pleasant. That was, I can't say a cage, but still, it was not pleasant at all. When I discover programming languages, I discover how to work in tech. It wasn't a job anymore. Many people are telling me, how can you spend like 14 hours in front of a laptop or a computer, whatever? It's because it's not my job. It's my passion. It's like what I do regularly. And I have videography, and maybe I do a bit of coding, and maybe I'm writing a book, maybe I'm writing a blog post, all this stuff. It's not something that I say, oh, I need to write that thing that on something that I don't care. That is basically what I was doing when I was at school, like study history. I didn't give a royal whatever about that, because I didn't feel the importance, that no one explained that it was forced to me to do that. But this is not forced to me. If I'm not happy with the job or the way how it works, I can change the job. If I'm not happy on what I'm doing, I can find another things to do. But in general, for me, if you put myself in front of a laptop, I have like a bazillion of things that I can do that I love, and it doesn't matter if I need to do the extra mile. And that's for me is the biggest win in life. I can spend whatever hours I can in during the day, and for me, it's free time. It's just a state of mind. I've never been burned out to a certain extent, despite sometimes I was, but I wasn't like catastrophically like I've seen with many people in tech, because in reality I was able to reset my angle on seeing things in a way that I enjoy it. And despite where certain things that I didn't like too much, I was capable to maybe squeeze them in inside things that I like, and therefore seeing things with different angles. So uh, burnout is real, and we need to be aware of that. But at the same time, we need also to understand what we like and what we not. Because if in a job we went in burnout, we go in burnout every now and then probably we need to change job. And it's not because it's a failure, because it's not healthy. We cannot cope up with mentally with that specific thing, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone is equal. We are snowflakes, and we need to acknowledge that.
So about that, you also think that if you're able to have this schedule, then you also know when to stop, so you
Totally.
don't risk going to burnout because you have
Absolutely.
boundaries.
Absolutely. The fact that I said at the beginning, you set up 1 or 2 goals per day is not casual, it's on purpose. Because the moment that you are capable to accomplish that goal, that means you are capable to filter out the noise, because we have a ton of noise around us. And being able to say, no, I won't take that project, because at the end of the day, we're human beings. We cannot be part of everything. And you need to understand that takes time. I have to admit, it takes time to understand what you can do, what you cannot do, and understand also where you can add real value and where you will be equal to anyone else. And you need to understand that part, because that will help you to prioritize. So when you are capable to do that, you will be able that you are ruthless on your decisions and say, okay, I do this, but I don't do that. And I delegate that to someone else. Or if I cannot delegate, okay, let's really understand if it's needed. And I need to spend my time on that and ask bazillion of questions on the people that are asking you to do that things, like, can we do differently? Can we do in a smaller way? Can we do an MVP? Can we do in a version that maybe is lighter, because we don't have time? There are things that they might be more important. And what is important then, obviously, for you, it might not be that important for the company. So we need also to understand the balance in these things and understand with questions, genuine questions, like, if we do this, what we are gaining. If we do what I'm doing, what we are gaining. Is it more important this, or is it more important that? Because the time is finite. And I said, if time is finite, we need to figure out the best that we can do with that time. And very often, as I was saying at the beginning, people think that I'm extremely effective or whatever. But what I do is just being ruthless on the thing that I do. There are certain things that maybe I would love to start today, like immediately, but I will never do, because I know that I don't have much value to, in reality, what is more important. And it's what I started the other day. And therefore, if you start to force yourself to start to finish and stop to start, you will become, stop to begin, you will become more focused on what you're doing.
Speaking of free time, like in not free time, but time not related to
Offload.
your
Offline.
Oh,
Offline.
offline. For example, watching a movie, playing a video game, reading a book. Okay. Are there tasks that you also insert into your schedule, or they're just first come first served?
No. So books are part of my commute time. So when I travel, I smash tons of books on flights or airports, train, you name it. I tend to prefer public transport over cars. That I know is not possible in every single country, but because it allows me to do something that is more useful than moving from A to B.
Sure.
And therefore, I definitely that is for books, for sometimes even video editing. I remember that I finished the video editing of one of my first videos on a plane on an iPad. That was surreal, but it was cool. The for regarding movies, I'm not avid consumer of movies or series or whatever. Apart from the Lord of Rings and everything that is around that, I don't care much about that.
But if you were, like, for example, I commit myself into watching at least one movie every week. If you had such a goal, would you schedule it like you dedicate a day, like I don't know,
correct?
Saturday evening, it's for movies.
Absolutely.
Okay, if then you have such a schedule, how can you like handle this with your family? Like, is there a negotiation with your partner, your children?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It's literally works in the way.
Okay, so for example, your partner knows perfectly that you have a schedule, so you tell them that you have a fixed or semi-fixed schedule. So in a way, they need to adapt.
No, they don't adapt. You adapt to their schedule, vice versa, right? So it's not just me. So for instance, I know that we can now...
they need to have a schedule too. Then
no, you usually block times, right? So it's not like that. So for instance, if during the weekend, obviously I turn off many of my activities apart from when the kids are sleeping, and it's dedicated to the family. So every weekend is fully dedicated to the family and whatever it decide to do. Do we want to go out to the zoo or I don't know, playing something in the garden? Doesn't matter. And then obviously sometimes there are needs like I don't know, my daughter has like the dancing class that does the final dance or representation for everyone, so we block time on that. So it's not that I decide for everyone. That's not how it works. It's more a collaboration, right? As any group of people, so they have some needs, I have some needs, and we try to merge and find a balance. But in general, it's always like trying to figure out how. So there are some times that are dedicated definitely to the family and are untouchable, and other times that instead I can take. Like for instance, after the girls are sleeping, it's the free time where I start to experiment, I start to do things. I tried also another crazy things that I read on one of the books that was having a date with yourself. That is super interesting.
What's that?
The idea is, and I tried once a week, and then I wasn't able to, let's say, keep every week, but for a good chunk, it worked. And basically is, that ideas you mentioned at the beginning, I have zero ideas. I would like to try them out. But then when you try, you discover that really sucks. Probably to go over to the next day. You basically allow yourself to have one day that you do something that amuse you for one evening, for 2 hours. Okay, so it is watching or playing games. It is watching something. You basically schedule the thing that I'm having a date with myself, and today I am in the mood to read a book or playing games. But because it's again time boxed, it creates, let's say, the possibility to say, okay, I feel that I'm doing something here and I'm amused myself, and then the other day instead you are more scheduled. But it's something that I like that. Now I'm finalizing the second edition of my book, so I'm completely, let's say, laser focused on finalizing the last 3 chapters. Therefore, I don't have time till June is like that. But after that, I'm planning to go back to this habit.
That's something that I can try. I usually find myself into the classic question that I ask myself and also my wife is, what do we do this evening? Because I come to the evening without really ideas, or better, I have many ideas. But I spend more time into deciding what to do than actually doing that. So I could do a lot of things. Every evening I could do a lot of things. But in the end, I find myself doing the closest one. Like, what's the closest thing that I can do? It's putting something on Netflix, probably. So that's the closest thing, so I do it. everything else requires some preparation.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So probably if I schedule that things, like time box that, probably it would be easier.
Yeah.
Because then I know that I have that time and I can dedicate that time to that specific thing.
Yes.
And I can do that because appointments are fixed. The gym is fixed. The swimming pool is fixed. Other appointments, meetings are fixed. So I know pretty much when I will have dinner, and so
Exactly.
I know precisely the time box that I will have on that evening. That's something I can do. I will try. I promise, because
You should.
sounds interesting. That sounds interesting.
It helps a lot because you wire your head instead of thinking, "Oh, I don't know what to do tonight." On, "Oh, I know that this is a movie night," and
Yeah.
therefore you think up front, "This is the movie I want to watch," and
Yeah.
I propose that.
Yeah.
Or for instance, yesterday we have I come back to a conference from a conference. It was 3 days out, so I said, okay, so this evening I just spent time with my partner. So she said, you know what? I wanted to watch the Beckham series on Netflix. Oh, okay, that's cool. So we watched that. So it's again, it's not that I decide for everyone. It's literally finding the balance, and then scheduling helps a lot because you don't have to think, oh, I don't know what to do, or I'm paralyzed because I have too many choices. It works like that. And then it's obvious that sometimes things can change. It's not that we are in the army or whatever. It's like literally your life. But usually scheduling enables you to avoid to think too much on what you're going to do. And the time that maybe there is something happening, you can switch direction.
I can imagine that at the beginning you struggle a bit into forcing yourself, respecting that schedule.
It's the habit.
Yeah.
For me, I create alarms. Creating alarms that is like when you have a meeting, right? So I don't know. For instance, I use Meter for Mac. That basically is a reminder that 15 minutes before any let's say meeting pops up as a notification and says, okay, for 15 minutes, and then there is the countdown. You're going to have these things, and then you click the button. You are inside, I don't know, Google Meet, Amazon Chime, whatever you're using. And it's basically the same thing. So when you have calendar things, movie night. So I want to know, like, I don't know, 4 hours before. You just set the recurring meeting, done. You don't have to do much more.
I will try. That sounds very promising and interesting. I don't know if it will work.
Again, you need to stick with that for 3 months. If you're capable
3 months.
It's 100 days. If you're capable to do that for 100 days, it will stick.
Just to figuring out the kind of person that you are. You are also that type of guy that writes down expenses, the bank account amounts, the investments, the trip balances,
no,
things like that.
I did just when I moved to London to compare supermarkets. So for 2 months, I had an Excel file where basically I tried to do exactly the same recipes with 5 different supermarkets and compare prices and quality.
Okay. But so you don't track your life?
It's not, obviously I try and, for me, the thing is, as long my salary is higher, what I'm spending is fine.
That's exactly what I think. But I know a lot of people that instead track or try to track everything, the expenses, the amounts that they have on a bank account, what they have to pay, the bills, everything. But it's not to say that this is fine or this is not fine. It's just to visualize the mental engineering of that people, because I'm totally the opposite of that. And so I was thinking, if you're that organized that you track everything, probably it's easier for you to also start scheduling your life, your days, your tasks. But probably not, because if you're not that organized, probably it's something that everyone can accomplish.
To be honest with you, I'm organized only on work. I'm pretty bad. For instance, for let's say everything that is related on fixing something in the house or stuff like that, I'm absolutely awful.
Me too, yeah.
And and it's normal. It happens. But even with money, I have this philosophy that I to a certain extent earned or created money till now. If tomorrow we stop to have the normal stream of income that is arriving, I will figure out another way to make income.
Yeah.
And then if I need to adjust my life, I will adjust my life. It's not a big deal. However, on work, that because I care so much about let's say feeling accomplished in what I'm doing and having a dent in the community, and that's why I create a lot of content, because I learn from the community. So I have made what I call the forever debt with the community. I really want to have, let's say, a high impact inside the community, and therefore I try to be more organized. But for the rest, I'm pretty rubbish.
Okay, I have one last question, I promise, because we are running out of it, and I don't want to steal your time. I don't know how much time you boxed for this thing.
Box, man.
Okay, starting, when you start doing something, I remember that I a couple of years ago I started. A couple of years probably. A couple of years ago, I started doing a podcast in Italian. Okay. I had no previous experiences, so no content creation, no videos, no podcast at all. I just started, right, myself. Well, no, to be honest, I had the experience of a podcast, of the continuous delivery podcast, but that was different. The thing is, I again tricked myself just starting and announcing publicly that I was starting doing something daily. In that way, I was tricked, I was fucked, because then I had to start and I had to keep the promise that I made with myself and with others. So I started, and then I had to continue, even without feedback or without numbers. I still don't care about numbers or things. Just complying with the promise. Okay. You did start many things, like you started your YouTube channel, your newsletter, you wrote a book. The very first time you did that, you remember how you convinced yourself into starting that project from scratch?
So usually I tend to depend from the project, but vast majority of the time, in especially in content creation, when I have an idea, I tend to do a mind map. Could be a talk that I want to do, a book that I want to write, or whatever. So it's literally a brain dump inside something visual that is a mind map. I found something that helps me a lot, because it's not high effort. It's like literally writing a couple of words to understand a specific topic, and then you can create connections very quickly. Different colors, stuff like that. You can immediately see that. Every single talk that I have delivered in the last 5-6 years is designed that way. So I basically create a mind map. Same for the book. When I want a chapter, I basically say, okay, I want to talk about that in a very random fashion. I don't filter anything. It's literally a brain dump, one-to-one, on everything possible in my head at that moment. Then I stop for 2 days. Then I, let's say, review that, reorganize, filter out, because I have a bit of detachment from what I've written at the beginning. And then at that point, I can understand how I want to start. But the starting point became easy, because now the starting point is something that you visualize, and you can adjust, obviously, because what you were thinking a year ago, especially when you write books, a year ago is different from what I'm thinking right now. Therefore, you have like something that enables you to say, okay, so I will put these things, did that thing. And for instance, for talk, the first thing that I do, I have some part that I'm unsure of, and some other that are more sure. And therefore, what I do is I create time box. Say, okay, the talk has to be ready in a week, or in 3 days, or 1 day, whatever. And because I have the mind map ready, I start with something that I'm sure that I'm going to do. So the first slides are always the one that I'm sure that I'm going to cover in that talk. And then I fill the gaps. But filling the gaps is completely different things than starting. Because I create, my mindset is, let me see what is the bare minimum I can do in order to move towards the goal. And the bare minimum at the beginning for me is, okay, first problem I have, I need to understand what I want to say. But if I don't visualize, I don't know. So let's visualize. Then I say, okay, I need to organize. But, I know that already those things are mandatory for this talk because that's the key part of the talk. Let's create the slide for that. And then I have, let's say, a bunch of iteration that could take hours or a couple of days. And sometimes I block for a day or two, and then I revisit it with fresh eyes. And then helps me a lot on continuing. But for me, the best thing that I have learned when I moved here was reading a book called The Spirit of Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous improvement in Japanese. And the idea is every single small thing is part of a larger goal. There were plenty of examples, like was Southwest Airlines had the goal to save $2 million in dollars in 1 year. And they didn't know where to start. The management was starting to think, okay, we should cut here, we should cut there. And they apply Kaizen and say, okay, people that you are in on the ground, what do you suggest? And for instance, what captain said, from now on, we don't take the elevator anymore. We just, let's say, use the stairs. They saved, I don't know how many thousands of dollars on the elevator because everyone was doing that. They had less energy to save. Another one, an hostess said, let's remove from the rubbish bags the logo, let's say plain one without anything. It doesn't add any value. And that they save $500,000. We delegating basically to people that are close to the problem. You can come up with a lot of ideas. It doesn't have to be huge, but a lot of small ideas reach the goal. And it's the same thing that we should do when we are working alone. A book is composed by chapters, and chapters is composed by paragraphs. Every paragraph is composed by sentences. The bare minimum you can do, even if you are extremely tired but you want to make a move, is writing a couple of sentences. And the next day you'll know that you need to continue from that. But maybe next day you have enough time, steam, or whatever to continue and maybe write a paragraph. So the problem is never, for me, starting, is adding the bare minimum and feeling good because I move a needle a bit. And slowly but steady, that needle, that's the winning mindset, right? So if you start to win in every single bit, the spike is very tiny. You move the needle constantly in multiple dimensions. And then at the end of the year, you move the needle immensely.
That's a good advice. Thank you, Luca, because you changed a bit my view on time and organization and scheduling. I'm thinking, again, I'm having a stream of ideas right now. But now I know that I can be more organized with low effort. It doesn't take too much to be better organized than what I am now. That's basically nothing. So I will try. So thank you very much, because it was very, very, very valuable for me. Again, thank you so much for the time that you dedicated to me this evening. Ciao, 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 ciao.
Ciao.